and a very good day to you. My name is Tony Dovale. I am the founder and CEO of Life Masters and the developer of the Revolutionary Workplace High Performance Framework, Philosophy, and System. Welcome to the introduction of how you can create a revolutionary workplace with high performance people, teams, leadership, and culture. How you can grow your workplace so that they can thrive and flourish in these ever-changing, tough and uncertain times. My name is Tony Dovale, and I've spent most of my life, 40 plus years and in excess of 15 million rand in time and money to create a revolutionary framework, system and process that will help unleash people's performance and potential, that you can align and create cohesive and high trust teams with leadership that lifts and enables performance, and cultures and contexts that enable exponential results. So let's get going. Let's tell you a little about adaptagility and the revolutionary workplace. COVID came and gave us a really big wake-up call. For some, COVID's a problem. For others, COVID's a gift. And whilst there is uncertainty and anxiety and changes and challenges and constraints, COVID also brought incredible opportunities. And so I'd like to share with you mindsets and possibilities and frames of reference that you can use to build a better me and a better we. That we can build high performance teams that deliver in spite of the constraints and context and conditions. So let's get going. Adaptagility is the phrase that I created because I knew that we had to find a way to adapt quickly, agilely, with agility, swiftly. But I knew we had to adapt. It couldn't be an evolution. It had to be a revolution. And so adaptagility was born. But within the framework of adaptagility are other things like resilience, balance, creativity, innovation, self-awareness, and all of the qualities that are needed to become a high-performance person that can surf the waves of change and challenge and turn those into opportunity. So let's go. The reality is we're becoming more conscious in the world today. And it's no longer just profit, profit, profit as the driving motive, which is what we call greedership. Now we're talking about people, planet, and profit. Circular economies, where these never-ending abuse of resources that are scarce resources on our planet are being re-evaluated. And so we know that people are the core construct of business. Planet is our home, and we know that life rafts don't have life rafts. So we need to look after our home, not only for ourselves, but also for the younger generations that are coming in the future. And the final one is profit. Profit is oxygen. And I believe that we've had a shift in consciousness away from this just pure raw money to the triple bottom line, where it's people, planet, community, profit, because profit is now the amplifier and accelerator. Whilst it's a fundamental part of business and the process, it is not the sole reason for business. And this only happens when you have a shift in consciousness in the people and the teams and the leadership. So the framework that we have in our revolutionary workplace, the high performance framework, part of the research comes from the High Performance Center over in Europe. And they have academically validated information over the last 7 to 8 years with meta studies that have shown what are the specific areas that you must impact if you are going to create a high performance workplace that outcompetes and outperforms other organizations in your industry. And the first part of it is management. How good are your management? We know from Google's research that 1 out of 10 managers is classified as great. The rest are subpar. You might think you're a great manager, but how good are you really? It's a management/leadership we know can impact performance up to 50-60% of an organization's performance. So management is one of the key pillars. The second pillar is people, the employees, the staff. How good are they? Mindsets, attitude, resilience, psychological capital. How do they show up for work? Are they able to use knowledge, skill, and ability to perform their duties to their fullest potential? Right people in the right functions with the right resources matter. The third one is an action orientation and an openness, a transparency. But there's an underlying culture of taking fiercely focused action that really matters in building a high-performance exponential organization. Continuous improvement and innovation are the fundamental foundations of being better today than we were yesterday. If you look at surfers, they are constantly moving, adjusting, balancing, changing, observing, adjusting based on that to make sure they get the full use out of the waves that they are surfing on. And we have to do the same with the mega waves of change that COVID brings for us. Rather than chasing the short-term goals, we need a long-term view, which we use as a reference point for investment in staff development, in growth, in markets that we are chasing, in innovation and creativity. We have to have a long-term view and invest for the long term. This isn't just a sprint. This is a marathon. So if you look at the graph here, the line at the bottom of the green, that curved line, so the left-hand side is value generation, value output. The horizontal line is time over years. And so the bottom line, the gray line, is a typical output from a staff member. They get employed, they get interviewed, and then you onboard them, and then they perform to a certain level. They increase a little bit. They go along for a year or two, maybe, typical talent retention period, and then they leave. They decide they're leaving, their performance drops, and then they're gone. The real value and need of a leader, of a manager, of a team is to enhance the speed with which we onboard people, raise the level of the value and the impact and how high and far they can go, and then develop that and make sure that they stay within the organization over a longer time period. So the real value that our revolutionary workplace brings is this green zone where we're increasing the value that a human brings to the organization that can be then translated and transferred into commercial value for the organization, for the people. For example, this is a sales example. If you have a sales team and one of those people increases their sales just by 10% a year over and above the average, and that person stays for 3 years or longer, where the normal average might be a year and a half or 2 years, that salesperson's return on investment is 2.5 times higher than the average person you would have there. And so there's some real wisdom to be had in getting the right people, getting the right managers, building the right teams, creating a culture where people can thrive and flourish and they have performance enablement, helping them grow and stretch their capacity to add value with the right mindsets, the right conditions, the right tools, and then keeping them at this high level of performance for longer periods of time. I don't think you're going to keep people forever, and it's not always advisable to keep people forever, but you want to keep your talent, the high quality talent, for as long as reasonably possible. So let's talk about our revolutionary workplace, because we impact 4 levels on the revolutionary workplace: people, teams, leadership, and culture, what I call the PTLC, the 4 layers. We know people, we claim people are our most important asset, but do we treat them like that? Do we develop them that? Do we grow them? Do we provide training and guidance and coaching to unleash that potential and bring out the best version of them? They are your assets. In these times when talent retention is a huge problem, value is created by the people performance. You need to create a people performance enablement context and culture where we unleash more of people's potential, where people can be up to 7 times, yes, you heard me right, 7 times more valuable to an organization. Times are complex. We have these VUCA conditions. No one individual is good enough to control and manage and provide knowledge, skill, ability, effort, and action on everything. Teams are critical if organizations are to perform effectively and deliver market value. Trustworking, tolerance, communication, commitment, alignment, cohesion are all critical factors of building a high-performance team. The challenge that we see is there's so much dysfunction in an organization. Trust levels are trashed. Tolerance is zero. That we see the teams, whilst they have the potential, we don't see that enacted and enabled in the system. Leadership, we now know from our Gallup research on engagement and the Google research, leadership is a critical component of an organization, of a high-performance organization. Effective leadership can impact and improve performance by up to 60-70% over and above an average leader. We've got research that shows leaders with the right mindset from Professor Stoltz can be up to 8.4 times more valuable to the organization and the team. And so leaders are about people performance enablement, about energizing and empowering. But the leaders are the ones that are the energy and the fuel and the driving imagination and inspiration for the team. And the final one is the culture, the context, the climate, the conditions that people work in. Because you can have great people in a toxic culture very quickly. That greatness is bred out of those people. And so we know culture also has up to 40, 50, 60% impact on people performance. People times teams times leadership equals the culture and the conditions, the way we do things around here. And we need to address all of these 4 levels independently with our framework and with our process if you are going to create a holistic approach to creating a revolutionary workplace. So let's tell you about our CLEARx framework. This is based on all the meta studies on the global research on what makes high performance teams, blended with my 40 plus years and 15 million rand in time and money research in the South African context and the African context. And so it's a philosophy, it's a framework, and it's a system to unleash people performance. The first part is culture. Like we were saying just now, culture and context. Even good people in a toxic culture very quickly are contaminated. Healthy fish in toxic water are going to die quickly. So you need to have a culture that is enabling, empowering, and inspiring and action-oriented. The challenge is that culture is not something you just walk in and tweak the tune and the dial and make it bigger, better, stronger. Culture is a consequence of behavior. It's a consequence of how people have behaved in the past. It's a consequence of how the previous leader and management have behaved. Changing culture is something that you have to start from the bottom up. It's not a top-down process. I know many companies and banks have spent millions, 25 million plus, trying to change their culture, and they get a tweak a little bit here and there, tiny change. We, on the other hand, come right down to the individuals, to the identity and the core, and we have huge shift in organizational culture very, very quickly, and that lasts a long time. The second step in our CLEARx is limitless leadership. Because leadership is such an important component of unleashing people performance and enabling people performance, the right kind of leader mindset matters most. Teams all need guidance, they all need rails, they all need inspiration. And leaders have to do the tough things. They have to make the tough decisions, solve the problems that the typical team context cannot. But leadership is that little spark that explodes the fuel of possibility in that team performance place. Likeable leadership. People join organizations because of the vision, mission, values. They leave because of incompetent, ineffective leaders. And we have a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where leaders think they're doing well when in fact they're not. And so we provide diagnostics and coaching and assessments and interventions to help leaders get honest feedback and an honest mirror, to be liked, known, and trusted. Engagement, we know from Gallup's research, is crumbling. Engagement's probably at its lowest levels in the history of many businesses. COVID has smashed certainty, connection, communication, collaboration, and engagement. But engagement is a leadership imperative. So engagement then also blends into energy and empathy, and creating that space where people feel psychologically safe and valued and appreciated, that they love to be part of the system. And so conscious leadership is needed to enhance and expand the engagement, the model of engagement, and how people connect and communicate and bring that extra little bit of themselves to the workplace. We know because of COVID, the change happened so quickly that agility matters, adaptability matters, but also an appreciative inquiry kind of positive approach process matters to create inclusive collaboration where it's safe for people to talk about challenges and issues and explore innovation and creativity. And so this adaptagility mindset is the root of being able to pivot, adjust, observe, expand, take action in the times and the mega waves of change that we have right now. Readiness and right mindsets and resilience. Adaptagility is good, but you need the resilience to bounce back. You need the mindset that's going to make you bulletproof to cope with that situation. You need the mindset that can unlearn and relearn. The mindset that embraces a diverse range of viewpoints and cultural perspectives and blends that into a high-performance organization. The right mindsets matter because we know from research that a large part of your talent pool right now are looking to leave. There's a huge brain drain. People are looking based on what's happened in COVID, based on the shifts in the dynamics in organization. A large part of your people, at least 30-40%, are open to moving unless you create a highly attractive workplace. And the final part is execution. With fierce focus, execution excellence matters. You can have this fancy car with great leadership and great teams, but if you don't have that culture of execution, that execution excellence, where the bar is raised, where there is ownership, people take ownership of the outcomes and the outputs, and there's high levels of accountability in this context. Execution is where you live and die. In theory, it's easy. In practice, it takes alignment. It takes a holistic approach to creating a revolutionary workplace. So let's talk about these key elements of this revolutionary workplace system. The first part of creating a revolutionary workplace that people love to work is that it's meaningful and purposeful work, where people have training and development, that they have self-mastery, they have given autonomy to be able to do things in the way they would like to do them based on their preferences. And there's a clarity of purpose. We're having this purpose-driven environment being created now more and more in the world that we have. We know that management has huge impact in the consciousness and the caring and the empathy and the connection and creating this home from home, this place where people bring their very best, a better me and a better you to make a better we. We talk about this consciously constructive approach. When I had my computer business, every morning we had 45 minutes of training. I'm talking 30 plus years ago. But I believe it's even more important today to have some kind of personal development, whether it's self-development, business, leadership, team, coaching, some kind of regular learning and growth every single day. And we call that consciously constructive. The context matters. Culture matters. We're humans. Core need to love and be loved. We have other needs like certainty, connection, belonging, contribution, and growth. But you as a leader have the power to create the overarching context that people work in and to make sure that any toxicity is cleared and removed from that. And that limitless leadership, we have a whole leadership training program and coaching program. But if you don't have trust or credibility as a leader, your impact is greatly reduced. You need to be competent as a leader. We've seen so many people in the times of the conditions that we have in our South African context, where people are promoted to a point of incompetence. And I see how that creates team dysfunction. And that completely puts the handbrake on the performance potential of that team. So let's look at the process and the kind of things that we would do as we would approach you as an organization to help you become a high performance workplace. The first is diagnostics and assessment. Where are we at? What is happening right now? Who's the leader that's got the constraints? Who's the manager that's got toxicity? Who's the individual that is constraining and blocking the issues? Who are your social leaders that have got more impact and more credibility than you as a leader? So getting a really clear picture of the real issues, not the symptoms, of the causal issues, allows us to then step back and say, right, what are the steps that we need to do? Because once we can analyze and understand the movement and the moving parts, a business is a biological system, just like your body. It's not just one thing that's going to be impacted by issues and constraints. It's a systematic approach that we have to look at and see what's impacting, what's causing, and what needs to be addressed. We can then look at saying, here's the important areas that we need to focus on for phase one, and then commit the time and the resources to address that issue. It's like having a Ferrari in the Formula One pit lane. There can be 1,000 things that you can do to tweak and improve performance, but you don't do them all at once. You choose the biggest impact one and adjust and tweak and tune and refine. And once you're happy with that, you then look at the next and the next. Otherwise, you find companies doing a whole lot of projects, and there's no fierce focus on anything, and none of them are executed effectively. And we then design and facilitate the solution, which might be interventions by way of interviews to discover specifically what are the needs and wants of the people in the organization. It could be a team building, a high performance team building, conflict clearing, culture realignment. It could be limitless leadership, developing leadership and management credibility and capability, and then coaching people on the longer term to embed the principles and the process and inculcate the better way, the new ways of being a high performance organization, and then tweaking and adjusting and optimizing as we go. And then, like any high performance vehicle, we have a dashboard. We have some signals coming in to give us feedback. This is okay. That's okay. That needs attention. And we can then evaluate, measure, manage, and monitor, and then evaluate and keep an eye on things and make sure that what we're expecting and planning is in fact really happening in creating that high performance place. And then a very important part is all work and no play makes Jack or Jill a dull boy or girl. And so celebrating, congratulating, affirming, giving recognition and appreciation and validation to people is a vital situation to reward people for doing what you want them to do more of. Too often I see people banging and smashing and finding people doing things wrong, and people get scared to step out of their comfort zone. Celebrate success, celebrate failures even, but learn from them. And then come back into, so where are we now? What are we addressing next? And this is an ever-increasing cycle that we would use to help you create an exponential high-performance workplace. So let's look at some of the components. We know it's people, it's teams, it's leadership and culture. Those are the 4 layers that we have to address holistically and completely. It can't just do one and ignore the others. We need to address them all equally if we're going to create a sustainable, long-term, high-performance team that can execute with excellence. So let's look at some of the tools that we're going to be talking about in our training that you can start to get a sense of this entire system. The first part of one of the tools is Blue Ocean strategy and innovation, because everything starts with strategy. Where are we going? What mountain are we climbing? What targets are we chasing? What target markets? What business are we in? Starts the game. And then using appreciative inquiry and getting away from this quirky blaming, naming, and shaming kind of process. So many people are so easy to point and blame. Appreciative inquiry changes that little quirk and puts us into a positive approach. We say what we want more of rather than what we want less of. Leadership is such an important component. Lifting leadership enablement, people performance enablement needs limitless leadership with the right mindset, with the right heart set that connects people, that inspires people, that engenders and creates a space where people can unleash their fullest potential. The problem is there's not many really good, inspiring leaders. And I've chosen consciously constructive and capture because it is such an important thing. We need to be growing and developing people every single day, incrementally, irrevocably, developing, upgrading skills, knowledge, ability, mindsets, attitude, the hard skills as well as the soft skills. I know based on our research that most companies are losing between 12 and 15% of their basic monthly salary bill based on conflicts and lack of productivity because of those conflicts. That's average performance days. And then add to that toxic cultures, backbiting, incompetent leadership, and you find there's a huge challenge that we need to address in making sure that there's clear communication and that conflicts are addressed properly. Deliberately developmental is the phrase, which means half day of growth and development of people and half day of commercial focus. I don't think many companies are going to get there for a while. So for me, it's consciously constructive development. It's this creative change, this inspiring, exciting context of perpetual reinvention and not managing change, but it's this perpetual reinvention. If you see people when they get their phones, the new cell phone, Apple doesn't do change management on the new models. People are excited. They sleep outside the shop days ahead, but because there's inspiration and excitement in the process. We use the AdCar model and framework as part of the change management process because it is intelligent to have a system and a structure that does embed the core fundamentals of change management into the system. Individual development is such a critical component because each brick, each individual goes to making and building this huge castle or palace. Psychological development, psychological capital, psychological safety are core fundamentals of this new revolutionary workplace. We said right in the beginning, we cannot continue to waste precious resources. We have to get people to think about reinvention, about reuse of materials, of products, of processes. How do we innovate? How do we optimize and stop wasting? I know one of my clients is a bank, and they were talking about cost factors. And if you can keep your cost factors down lower than your competitors, it's a huge advantage to the bottom line of your organization. And so limitless leadership that is conscious matters for me. You could be a limitless leader that expands and pushes, but I believe you have to be conscious. We have to have that compassion and that empathy as a core function of how leadership shows up anymore. This dictatorial top-down threatening and hitting and breaking no longer has any space in the world for me. So we have a range of levels of partnership where you may be watching us to see how you can get involved with us. So we have Revolutionary Workplace brand ambassadors and sales or marketing people who are out in the world, in the greater world, who are talking to clients, talking to prospects, and who are promoting the brand and the process out to organizations. And they then, if they are successful in creating the relationship and opening the doors, we then work with them to process the transaction and do the quotes and the proposals, and they then work with us as we then embed the systems into those organizations. We also have speakers who are providing talks on a range of areas like adaptability, resilience, limitless leadership, consciously constructive, circular economy, psychological capital, psychological safety, high performance teams. And so speakers that are going out into the market and are spreading the word in 1 hour, 90-minute talks and keynotes to start to introduce people to the concept of building a revolutionary workplace and high performance teams. We also have coach training and coach development and coaches who will use the models that we have and apply that to their coaching methodology and the frameworks that we have for coaches to add that extra knowledge, skill, and ability to their range of services that they're offering their clients. We have workshops where we will have trainers to train specific areas around adaptability, around resilience, around leadership, around mindsets, around a range of things like emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, where we're giving specific skill sets to your people and to your teams. There's always going to be conflict in some way or form. And so we have highly experienced conflict mediators and conflict mediation facilitators that use our process and our framework to get everybody on side, whether it's unions fighting against management, whether it's unions against unions, whether it's departments and departments or teams against teams. We have a structured, proven process that brings people together, realigns the focus, reduces the emotional static, and enables teams to unleash more of that potential. We have consultants that go out and promote and sell the assessments, the diagnostics, the systems that will then consult with organizations and sit with them and advise them on the next best steps to take. We provide that service as part of our service in South Africa, but we will have people around the world that fit into that role of consultants. We have team building facilitators and high performance workplace facilitators who will, based on the diagnostic feedback, structure an action learning experience, what we call mind growtainment or team flow grow. And they will then facilitate you and your teams through those processes. We will have regional leaders, organizations that are regional hotspots and hubs for the revolutionary workplace brand and systems. We plan to have countries around the world, and within each of those countries we will have regional leaders who are responsible to support the people, the consultants and the coaches and the speakers within getting the products and the services and the concepts out into the world. We are already right now looking at countries where we will have country heads who are able to support and provide structures and systems for those people that want to come into the family of this revolutionary workplace and work with life masters and our coaches and our facilitators and use our systems. Global strategists are high-level experts like myself and Dr. Emmanuel Emevbo, who have extensive global level experience for long periods of time, who are able to look at the big picture, that can come in then and support our facilitators and our consultants and our coaches on large projects, because we have multinationals now that are going across the world, and we support and enable and create a cohesive global level team that can address and be able to apply and implement the frameworks. Our delivery platforms, we have high performance assessments that are either on digital platforms or on paper. We then do the analysis and data visualization ourselves. We have a team of people who are experts in data visualization, who then take all of the data and slice and dice and put it into a few hundred variations that we can get a really good, clear look and see what it is that's blocking your organizational performance. We then sit and present a manual to you which shows you where the areas are and what the challenges are, and we can then provide experts who speak and present information to the rest of the organization, to your ESCO teams, and get that information presented to the rest of the organization so there's transparency, there's understanding, and there's alignment. We provide supporting material on a range of specific mindset issues and skill set issues, which is what we call nibble knowledge. It's little nibbles of information that people can learn every day. We know from research, adult learning isn't more than 20 minutes. So a whole full workshop, people don't remember a huge amount of that. And research shows people forget 90% by the end of the month. And so we provide online videos and audios and PDFs and reference material that teams can use as they re-embed and re-inculcate the knowledge that we've shared with them. We provide face-to-face workshops. We do Zoom, Skype, Teams, all of the virtual platforms that we're able to interface with our clients that work with us. We have webinars where we update our experts in our family into what's the latest technologies, new developments, and new systems and frameworks that we then roll out into our system. That's the first phase of building a revolutionary workplace high-performance framework, philosophy, and system. I hope you're as excited as I am to embark on this journey where we will take you through each of the adventures in each of these areas of people, teams, leadership, and culture, that you can start to create the knowledge, the skill, and the ability as a leader, as a coach, as a facilitator, and as a co-participant in a team to build a better me and a better you and a better we. And from that, we can then start to build high-performance workplaces where we optimize people, teams, leadership, and culture to thrive, deliver exponential results. Looking forward to seeing you at the next step of our adventure. Check the next video. I'll be back with you soon. Thank you very much.